Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana namaskritya Ram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Dhiraye Nasta Praishu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiti. We're reading from Śrīmad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, Text 39. Text 39. Mathurayam Tata Vajram Mathurayam Tata Vajram Surasena Bhatim Tata Surasena Bhatim Tata Prajapatyam Nirupyastim Prajapatyam Nirupyastim Agni Apiba Ishvara Agnin Apiba Ishvara Mathurayam Tatavajram Mathurayam Tatavajram Surasena Patim Tata Surasena Patim Tata Prajapatyam Nirupyastim Prajapatyam Nirupyastim Agnin Apiba Agni Balishvara.
Mathurayam Tatavajram
Mathurayam Tatavajram Surasena Patim Tata Prajapatyam Nirupyastim Agni Balishvara Mathurayam Tatavajram Surasena Patim Tata Prajapatyam Nirupyastim Agnina Pibalishvara Mathurayam Tatavajram Surasena Patim Tata Prajapatyam Nirupyastim Agnina Pibalishvara Mathurayam at Mathura Tata also Vajram Vajra Surasena Patim King of the Surasena Tata thereafter Prajapatyam Prajapatya sacrifice Nirupya having performed Istim gold Agni fire Apibat placed in himself Ishvara capable Mathurayam Tatavajram Surasena Patim Tata Prajapatyam Nirupyastim Agnina Pibalishvara. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda. Then he posted Vajra, the son of Aniruddha, grandson of Lord Krishna, at Mathura as the king of Surasena. Afterwards, Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira performed a Prajapatya sacrifice and placed in himself the fire for quitting household life. Please repeat Then he posted Vajra, the son of Aniruddha, grandson of Lord Krishna, at Mathura as the king of Surasena. Afterwards, Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira performed a Prajapatya sacrifice and placed in himself the fire for quitting household life. Then he posted Vajra, the son of Aniruddha, grandson of Lord Krishna, at Mathura as the king of Surasena. Afterwards, Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira performed a Prajapatya sacrifice and placed in himself the fire for quitting household life. Purport. Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira, after placing Mahārāja Parikshit on the imperial throne of Hastinapur, and after posting Vajra, the great grandson of Lord Krishna, as the king of Mathura, accepted the renounced order of life. The system of 4 orders of life and 4 castes in terms of quality and work, known as varṇāśrama-dharma, is the beginning of real human life. And Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira, as the protector of this system of human activities, timely retired from active life as a sannyasi, handing over the charge of the administration to a trained prince, Mahārāja Parikshit. The scientific system of varṇāśrama-dharma divides the human life into 4 divisions of occupation and 4 orders of life. The 4 orders of life as brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasi are to be followed by all, irrespective of the occupational division. Modern politicians do not wish to retire from active life, even if they are old enough. But Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj, as an ideal king, voluntarily retired from active administrative life to prepare himself for the next life. Everyone's life must be so arranged that the last stage of life, say at least the last 15 to 20 years prior to death, can be absolutely devoted to the devotional service of the Lord to attain the highest perfection of life. It is really foolishness to engage oneself all the days of one's life in material enjoyment and fruitive activities. Because as long as the mind remains absorbed in fruitive work for material enjoyment, there's no chance of getting out from conditioned life or material bondage. No one should follow the suicidal policy of neglecting one's supreme task of attaining the highest perfection of life, namely, going back home, back to Godhead. Om Jnana-Tmarandasya Gyananjana-Shalakaya Chakshusumilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I'm going to read from a couple of verses here from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Normally we recite the invocation. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Vaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Vaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Jaya 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 This Chaitanya Charitamrita is described as postgraduate study. And as we're going to see, There is a reason for that. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, which is the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, describing the beginning of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. And this is text 9 of the Adi Lila. Krishna Navimani Tate Daitya Karimani Chaitanya Na Manile Taiti Daitya Tarijani. Translation: one who does not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is certainly a demon. These are the opening verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Similarly, anyone who does not accept Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Krishna, the same Supreme Lord, is also to be considered a demon. I just wanted to point this statement out because this verse is also pointing out the failure of society to be following the instructions given by the Supreme Person for society to function properly. And so, I was realizing yesterday, when we give class, this movement that Lord Chaitanya himself originally established from manifesting in the year 1486 is the very most recent incarnation of Krishna that we should expect most people on the planet do not yet know of. But in that manifestation he took in this most recent form as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is revealing at the cutting edge of human evolution on this planet, a human spiritual evolution. Now, here in this verse is being revealed the material means of man's progress materially. And Lord Chaitanya came to remove us from our attachments to that. And as this verse points out, if we have to wait until the end of our lives, still, at least, we should take that form of renunciation from all the material activities. It doesn't mean we don't respect people who are still working at their jobs for the sake of being able to make further progress materially, but to make them aware of this form that Krishna has most recently appeared in to give us on this planet the most advanced spiritual principles there are to be able to understand the completeness of Godhead itself. So, up until the time of Lord Chaitanya coming, that very means or that very process which Krishna himself is saying is the means for all the human beings to be able to gain full realization of him and thereby experiencing what we, as members of the movement of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, are calling Krishna consciousness, because it is a complete freeing of the mind from the bondage that we ourselves have created, putting ourselves under the yokes of people who are themselves trying to promote their own well-being in this world, making this to be a place they believe to be the eternal residence for all human beings, the one and last residence. But as this verse points out, what we should be concentrating our life's efforts on, especially in the last days of life. And this is why seniors should be protected too, because now they are at the stage of life where they can perfect the life, the outcome of their life. And now, those very critical moments now, in the final stages of life. Critical because it is these very stages that our next environment is dependent upon. It is dependent upon, as these cities were being set up by Yudhiṣṭhira, and these kingdoms to be ruled as he was at that time the emperor of the world. He was putting into order the society for it to function perfectly, without hindrances from our own material desires. We can all, as a society, function, putting into place the most ancient teachings that gave the previous inhabitants of the planet to gain full knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Each age being initiated by the Supreme Person, and the followers of the Supreme Person in each age receiving the Dharma. The Dharma being the duty of the age, the responsibility of the human beings of the age to engage in, for them to gain the highest possible experience this human form of life has to offer. I was considering this morning, we could name every one of our classes the highest treasure. Because everyone in the world, for the most part, engaging in the systems that are there, what we are calling the varṇāśrama system. So the varnas are there as a means, just similarly as the capitalistic system, as a system set up for a person to start off working at jobs that do not require as much mental capacity. And then as one learns to become more and more perfect, even in the same form of production, then one gains the ability to give others the knowledge that they have learned with their ability. So similarly, in spiritual life, what those in the later part of their lives have learned to develop from the experiences of their entire life, in effect, are speaking with the knowledge gained by in some cases centuries, looking at past ages. But in this age, for decades, those who have been on the spiritual path can give with their speaking ability the knowledge to those that will hear what they have to say. And in the case of one who is on the spiritual path that Krishna has established in all of these incarnations, for all of the ages that we have knowledge of. He gives full knowledge to us now to give us this process that is the most easy. So rather than fighting against one another physically, this age, being the nature it is, Krishna has given us a means by which we can promote peace and tranquility. And anyone, see, as this verse is saying, anyone that denies that God is accepting worship by the glorification of his names, then they are demons also. And they are envious of the fact that there is only one being, one person who has this supreme position over all living entities. And for some human beings that have come to the stature of becoming, of having a human form to inhabit, it lies outside the realm of their belief system that one person can control everything. Because for the most part, all the experiences we have, excuse me, with anyone in our whole experience of life, after living 60, 70, and going on 80, 90, 100 years, every person we come in contact with, we can see they have faults and are inclined making mistakes, and due to the imperfections of the senses of the body. But we know that we can use these bodies to the greatest extent we are capable of developing the ability to use them by the instructions given by the spiritual master, by Krishna himself through the spiritual master, for us to be able to use these bodies more perfectly than we otherwise would. But the instruction is there that we don't look at the body or the imperfections of a devotee without seeing the perfections of bhakti. Because the imperfections of the physical body are not a hindrance to the perfection of love of God. And we have to remember that. See, we may have been born in the lowest, most demoniac families, who have no care or consideration or understanding whatsoever of taking care of their body. Every day they're engaging in activities that are destructive to the physical body. And so many of us who were born into such families, having come in contact with the perfectional understanding of life that the Vedas are still nevertheless revealing a body that is the result of mistaken understandings about how to eat, how to live, what to refuse to eat, what activities to engage in, what activities to avoid. In all these, we describe as regulative principles by the people, the souls that have been close to Krishna for many lifetimes. It is common knowledge. It is what you might say everyday practice by all the persons who are themselves inhabitants of the cities established by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as I was speaking about those who have lived many years and given us knowledge from the experience they have had from those many years of living. We can take advice from those who also had knowledge of the path we are now on in being able to govern ourselves. For example, taking from the writings of Manu Samhita. Manu was one of the firstborn of the universe. But these original progenitors, they are called, they have superhuman abilities to bring forth life into the universe, because at the beginning of the universe there is no life in the universe. So we have history of this planet at one time believed by the people to have been inhabited by just very few souls with the beginning of two. So similarly, the universe is of that same nature in its beginning stages, which almost makes it seem like all the planets start at the same time, but no. They're coming out of Krishna's body, and still are coming out of Krishna's body, and now are being observed by scientists who are calling Krishna's navel a black hole, which it is. His body is black, and his navel is a hole. So, Krishna's navel is a big black hole. And they call it the substance of it non-material. Non-material. See, all these things are revealing aspects of Krishna's universal body, or you could say that body from which all the planets are emanating, the planetary systems. Now, as we come to know the perfection of God's abilities and the completeness of it, He has those planetary systems coming out in a level that these planets are coming from His body. Now, from the history of this planet, we can see that it has changed. Its climate, environmental circumstances that causes its climate to be temperate, moderate, extreme. Now also, I was realizing, see, all these coming disasters that people have built up fears about in their discussions about, caused by, scientists are saying, the wind, the rain, the elements, and all these forces, tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanoes, the energy driving we call Lord Chaitanya Vishvambar. The title Vishvambar means the one who is in control of the earth rotation, the one who is moving the earth. Vishvambar, he's the controller of the planet. So when we surrender to Him, all the forces of the planet are on our side. This is His army. Indra. See, there are activities going on in the greater universe that we don't even have access to. We don't see. And those of us who want to see are prying in areas we don't have proper entrance to, proper etiquette to be able to enter into those areas of the universe that we as souls have not achieved to yet. And we want to get there materially before we get there spiritually. They'll probably end up finding hellish planets they can live on before they find heavenly planets they can live on. And we have close enough to a hellish planet here, the way people are living now, with enough of an environmental set of circumstances that human beings can actually exist. Why do we need to go outside the realm of our experience here on Earth, seeing and witnessing how much needs to be done here to make this planet what it is meant to be? And without the knowledge of human beings on the earth, knowing that their activities are actually responsible for the karmic reactions that all human beings are getting from these forces of nature. When Indra is on the inner surface of the universe, which he has access to, by the way, he can perform activities that cause things to hit the earth. And then we will, seeing that, say, oh, this cloud was that, this cloud had this force, and they magnetically attract, and then all this lightning happened. See, it's just like seeing an automobile going down the street and describing it as explosions going off, the spark plugs are causing the gasoline to explode and all like that. But the reason it's going down the road is because the person driving the vehicle has a purpose. And so similarly, all these acts of nature, even the insurance companies call it acts of God, right? Which they are. God is in control of all these things. And people who have little knowledge of God think that there's such a thing as accidents. But all these events that are taking place in each of our individual lives are meant to be messages of guidance. When we're rewarded, why is nature rewarding us for doing that which is revealing that the forces of nature are pleased with those activities, the forces that we are surrendering to? So Krishna can actually lead us to believe the lies that we create about our experience of life. And if we choose to believe other than the reality of God, then we will lead ourselves right back into a similar situation as that now, which we have to figure out right from wrong. And we have people concocting right from wrong that are in positions of leadership to be able to control other lives who don't even themselves realize the powerful forces of nature that will work against them if they are in fact working against the laws of God. Because all those forces of nature are working for His purpose. So, if you're working in your heart of hearts to try and promote the reality of the supreme power and knowledge that God is. God is the source of all knowledge, and knowing this is the greatest fortune that life, human life, has to offer us. But not everyone will take advantage of it. Why? Because what has brought us to this stage of development is the use of the senses in a way that has enabled us to make gradual process. Now reaching this stage of human means that we have a way of being able to gain the highest forms of life that are available, because this whole experience of life that we are now experiencing is the result of millions and millions and millions of previous lives we have had that now we can look at from a perspective of realization, which gives us the means and ability to, by applying the system, the process, by the Supreme Person who has set in order all of his laws that govern all of the universes. And he is enabling us with this process, he is giving us to become free, because now all those forces of nature, which are his forces, are working for our benefit as well. So, when we see rain is meant to nourish the ground. When we chant, it is said in the Vedanta literatures that the Supreme Person who is in charge of everything will bring the needed rains in their seasons. So we have a system set up, an institution created by which the participants can become completely free from everything that's causing them pain and suffering. The reactions of karma. Pain and suffering is a reaction of karma. That brought upon by demons, which is not looked at by devotees as karma. For example, those pangs brought about by when Haridas was whipped in 22 marketplaces. So we don't see. What we do see is the fact that Krishna took the suffering upon himself. Krishna took the suffering upon himself. So when we as devotees find ourselves experiencing some form of pain, in my mind, I look at it as being minimized. Because I know from my childhood upbringing, I am deserving of much more suffering than what I am being allowed to be exposed to. But Krishna, in the kindness and loving of his mercy, is allowing me to live a life beyond that which I would normally have been allowed to live. Because I was living a life that would have led me to a very early end. I came into the movement the day I was given the Bhagavad Gita. I had plans of letting the animals go free at the zoo. I'd probably be trampled over by some of those animals. Yeah, I never lived it down or see the glory of the freedom of the creatures that ended up killing so many human beings. But see, these are the plans of man. Even in my little understanding of God at the time, I was able to see the fact that human beings trying to control others' souls for their own aggrandizement or for their own upliftment. Oh, look at what I can control a lion. I can make a lion stand on his hind legs. Lord Chaitanya did this in the wild with those he'd never seen before, and danced and had them dancing on their hind legs. Lord Chaitanya. And he gives us evidence of this, of the power that he had, and that he's in control of all life. Even the deer and the wild animals that normally would be afraid of human beings in the wild came to Lord Chaitanya's presence by his attraction. Because God is all attractive. And his nature is being revealed in those literatures he gives us for us to be able to know his nature and to have full faith. And when we see literatures that come short of the completeness revealed in this Bhagavatam, we don't condemn the followers. But we're going out of our ways. This is why we had a Sankirtan group of devotees go out yesterday. This Sankirtan is the singing and glorification of God's holy names. What saintly person is there in the human race who would deny that glorification of God's name is anything but glorious? The singing of God's holy name is glorious to take part in and to give realization of the presence of by the singing, which gives to those who hear the holy names the means by which to be able to pick up on the process. Because this process is given uniquely at the beginning of every age. God himself gives the process by which to know him, the most easiest way by which to know him. Not that there are not other ways, but people can go on for years and years and years, and in effect for lifetimes, not coming to the full realization of the person that they're sharing this body with, and thereby missing out on the greatest fortune this human form of life has to the human being experience, to the human experience, for us to know God, to know the controller of everything, and to know such a being exists. That's what these literatures are passing down, the most ancient wisdom there is to be known. And with those who are not able to value the teachings, they are themselves engaging in activities that fall short of requirement needed for society to become perfected. By the guidance of the Vedas, we can do away with this disease. By the guidance of the Vedas. There is a group of writings called Ayurveda, 7 branches of medicine, including surgery, established at the foundation of the world, Dhanvantar, whose name brings healing, Dhanvantar. So as we study the words of the Supreme Person, then we come to find that he is giving us knowledge according to time and circumstance for the very situations we all are in. He knows right where we are. And he has given writings that give to us a way for us to be able to apply them to our lives, no matter what place in life we find ourselves. So those 4 sections of society described as Sudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Brahman. All human beings, by the labors they are engaging in, will find themselves falling into one of these 4 categories. But now the system functioning in the United States and in many nations of the world is functioning in such a way that people can see their ability to raise from themselves from one level to a higher level. Similarly, spiritual advancement goes the same way. We start out in life thinking we're going to make a family, make a nice home here in the future, seeing it as our all in all. And we have our own ideas, we have our own dreams, what we make perfection out to be. And then we find out about God, and then we learn to do things according to His teachings. We don't necessarily leave off of doing everything we were doing. There are many labors and works in societies for the advancement of society, the knowledge of which explained in Bhakti-rasa-mrita-sindhu can be performed by gaining eternal knowledge of the application of all these jobs we take part in this world. There are actual eternal applications for the knowledge we gain from them. But if we have no mindset, if we have no view, if we have no vision of that which we are taking part in as a spiritual, eternal labor, we will rob ourselves of the pleasure and satisfaction that that kind of consciousness gives us. Because it is consciousness that we are experiencing happiness with, fulfillment with, satisfaction, ultimately love. And it is this consciousness of love itself that we can find in God, who is that love, that we will find by the study of His words, by the study of the statements that He gives to us for the perfection of our lives, that we will become more complete human beings. Not that He's giving this to us to keep us from experiencing things that we think in our minds will provide us more happiness. No. He gives us as a guideline for us to be able to become happy, because He sees us in the state and the condition of our thinking that causes us so many problems that God, Krishna, wants us to be able to be alleviated from. Just like we see in examples of His servants, those who come to this planet, they have many times the abilities to heal physically. The ability to give other people spiritual knowledge is a healing that can be of eternal benefit to them when you connect them to the eternal source of life itself. And that can be done simply by giving them Krishna's name. Good day, have you ever heard of Krishna? And we have a free feast every Sunday. And if you come and you develop the attitude and you experience the pleasure that you will derive from the taste produced by the experience of spiritual food, then you'll feel indebted, as we do every morning, to know there are 33 million living entities responsible for our ability to be able to function in this world. All of whom can be totally satisfied in our giving of our indebtedness by simply surrendering our will and our life to that one person from whom all these other controllers come. So He's the Father of all, the origin of all. And simply by serving Him, then, everyone else is automatically served. So that's what we have the pleasure of being able to do. Serve the one who is in control of the all, and you get the benefit of serving all. Class is running into time. Over. Leave it open for any comments, questions, any realizations anyone would like to share. With the whole audience we have in the world, and the world audience. This is the cutting edge of spirituality. This movement is promoting that which the most recent incarnation of Krishna, not a prophet, not someone who knows a lot about God, but the completeness never before revealed on this planet in this way. When Krishna comes, Lord Chaitanya only comes once in what? The day of Brahma? Once in the day of Brahma. So, Krishna does not come very often in the form of Lord Chaitanya. And see, even Krishna's visiting, he establishes the beginning and the end of each yuga, some of which last millions of years. This yuga lasts 427,000 more years, 5,000 of which have passed by Krishna's having come 5,000 years ago. But the form he took as the Dharma avatar, giving liberty to humankind, a process, a practice to take part in, to experience love in its highest form, in its purest form, in its most powerful form, because by his words he has put all of his spiritual energies in the chanting of his holy names. And it is only our lack of ability to do that that keeps us from experiencing the highest love God has for all of us. And so then, the impetus, knowing this, should be that we go through our day with as much as possible chanting Krishna's names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. And thereby developing that dear relationship God is calling us to with him. Ultimately, to be married to God, to be married to God's principles, to cherish in our hearts everything that God has given to us as that most cherishable, and preserve that which he's given that can be given to all future generations coming, so that they can also know and experience what this planet will be turned into a heavenly planet by the followers of the Supreme Person who is in charge of all the forces that be. Varṇāśrama-dharma ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai, Śrī Chaitanya Charitamrita